Out of nowhere, he struck me across the face. The sharp crack of the slap cut through the silence, reverberating in the stillness of the room. My skin burned, not just from the force of the hit, but from the deep humiliation of being hurt by the man I had trusted with my heart. Jason's face was twisted with anger as he turned on his heel and stormed out, leaving me standing there, stunned, shattered, and reeling from a pain that went far beyond the physical. At that moment, I understood, his violence and betrayal had drawn a line between our past and whatever came next. Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today I want to share another touching story with you. Before we continue, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Every day I share interesting life stories with you, so enjoy listening. My name is Emily Carter, and I'm 24 years old. For 6 years, I believed I had found my soulmate in Jason Walker, the man I had loved since I was 18. When he proposed in April 2024, I was overwhelmed with happiness, dreaming of a future built on love, laughter, and shared dreams. We had set our wedding for May 2025, on the anniversary of the day we first met, a day that had once felt like fate. Back then, I thought everything was falling perfectly into place. I had no idea my heart was on the verge of breaking. By July 2024, I had thrown myself into planning our wedding, brimming with excitement. I chose a soft blue and white color scheme, envisioning a spring ceremony that felt both elegant and timeless. I spent hours scrolling through Pinterest, researching caterers, florists, and venues, eager to bring my vision to life. Each time I shared my ideas with Jason, his responses were clipped and indifferent, things like, "Looks nice," or the occasional thumbs up emoji. I told myself he was just busy with work, that he wanted me to have full creative control over my dream wedding. But deep down, I felt it, something was off. His detachment wasn't just about the wedding. His mother, Linda Walker, had always been an undeniable force in our relationship. As Jason's only child, she had a firm grip on every aspect of his life, a closeness I had once admired as a sign of strong family values. But as time went on, her presence became suffocating. Jason consulted her constantly, about everything. Decisions that should have been ours alone were discussed with her first. More often than not, I found myself left out, like an outsider in my own future. I kept telling myself that once we were married, things would change. I couldn't have been more wrong. 2 weeks ago, I had a day I had dreamed about for as long as I could remember, wedding dress shopping with my mom and sister. It was supposed to be magical, a memory I would treasure forever. We spent the day moving between boutiques, trying on gowns, laughing, and soaking in the moment. And then, I found it, the dress. The dress was everything I had ever dreamed of, elegant, timeless, and the kind that made me feel like I had stepped straight out of a fairy tale. As I stood in front of the mirror, emotion welled up in my eyes. I could already picture myself walking down the aisle, surrounded by love, ready to start a new chapter with Jason. My mom and sister beamed with excitement, their smiles mirroring my own as they assured me I looked absolutely stunning. I couldn't wait to share this moment with Jason. With a heart full of anticipation, I snapped a picture of myself in the dress and sent it to him, hoping he would feel the same surge of joy I did. His response came quickly, "It looks beautiful." For a brief moment, I felt content, validated even. But as I walked through our front door that evening, still basking in the glow of finding the dress, I was met with a reality that shattered my happiness in an instant. Sitting on our living room couch, her face twisted with fury, was Linda Walker, my future mother-in-law. She had let herself in using the spare key we had given her for emergencies. The second I stepped inside, the joy in my heart turned to ice. She stood abruptly, her voice slicing through the air. "You lied to me." I froze, completely caught off guard. "What are you talking about?" I asked, confusion lacing my words. Without hesitation, she launched into an enraged monologue, accusing me of breaking a supposed promise, one I had no recollection of ever making. According to her, I had agreed to wear her old wedding gown, an outdated relic that looked more suited for a museum than for a modern bride. Stunned, I tried to process what she was saying. Maybe, at some point, I had made a polite comment about it in passing, but it was certainly nothing I had committed to. And even if I had said something, did she really expect me to wear her dress on one of the most important days of my life? But Linda didn't care about logic or reason. She had already decided I was the villain. She called me a liar. Said I wasn't worthy of marrying her son. Each word cut deep, slicing through the excitement I had felt only moments ago. I glanced around, desperately hoping Jason would step in, that he would stand by my side and put an end to this madness. But he was nowhere to be found. Swallowing my frustration, I tried to reason with her, to explain that this was my wedding, and I had chosen a dress that made me feel beautiful. But she refused to listen. Her voice only grew louder, her accusations more cutting. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. Humiliated and exhausted, I turned and walked to my bedroom, shutting the door behind me in an effort to block out her relentless shouting. What felt like an eternity passed before I finally heard the front door slam. A moment later, Jason strolled into our room, his face calm, completely unbothered, as if nothing had just happened. "What's going on?" he asked casually. "Why is my mom so upset?" I stared at Jason, disbelief tightening my chest. Every ounce of frustration, every bit of hurt, welled up inside me as I recounted the confrontation with his mother. I wanted him to see my side, to comfort me, to at least acknowledge how deeply her words had wounded me. But instead of understanding, he let out a sigh and started defending her. Jason reminded me that 6 years ago, when we first started dating, I had admired his mother's wedding dress and casually mentioned that I'd love to wear something like it. Maybe I had made a polite comment back then, but a passing remark was a far cry from a binding promise. Yet, in his mind, I was being unreasonable, and his mother had every right to feel hurt. His words stung like a betrayal. That night, I lay in bed, my eyes burning with unshed tears, feeling more alone than I ever had before. The man I had loved and trusted for 6 years had chosen to defend his mother over standing by me. My heart ached in a way I hadn't expected, and for the first time I felt an uneasy doubt creep in. Was this really the life I wanted? Was this the marriage I had imagined? I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, my mind replaying the argument over and over. How had things gone so wrong? How could Jason look past how wrong his mother was? Every moment we had shared, every sacrifice I had made, played through my head like a cruel montage. I had spent years putting his family's needs before my own, bending, compromising, trying to belong. And for what? To feel like an outsider in my own relationship? The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing with notifications. Linda. Message after message flooded my screen, each one more cruel than the last. Accusations. Insults. Words meant to break me. She called me selfish, ungrateful. She told me I wasn't good enough to marry her son. Tears blurred my vision as I read through the relentless attacks. I had tried so hard to please her, to earn her approval, and yet here she was, turning on me completely. Shaken, I took my phone to Jason, hoping this would finally make him see. That he would realize how out of line his mother was. But instead of outrage or even mild concern, he just shrugged. "She's probably just upset that you don't want to wear her dress," he said casually. "Just give her some time to calm down." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Linda wasn't just upset, she was actively trying to tear me down, to sabotage our engagement, to paint me as the villain. This wasn't about a dress anymore. It was about respect. It was about support. And Jason had just shown me where his loyalty truly lay. I wanted a partner who would stand by my side, someone who would put us first. But with each passing day, it became painfully clear that Jason wasn't that person. I tried to make him see my perspective. I reminded him that this was our wedding, that I deserved to feel beautiful and comfortable in the dress I chose. I even suggested compromises, wearing a piece of Linda's jewelry or incorporating fabric from her dress into my veil. But no matter how much I tried to meet them halfway, it was never enough. Jason insisted that I either wore his mother's dress or risked being seen as ungrateful. To him, and to Linda, this wasn't about compromise. It was about control. It was all or nothing, and I was quickly realizing that there was no space for me in the life they had planned. The days that followed were tense, filled with arguments that left me emotionally drained. Linda's messages became nastier, relentless. She even reached out to my friends, trying to turn them against me. And Jason? He let it happen. He didn't defend me. If anything, he seemed to side with her more and more, making me feel like I was the problem. I started questioning myself, wondering if I was being selfish, if I was crazy for wanting to wear my own wedding dress. Then came the moment that shattered everything. The tension between Jason and me had reached its breaking point, and I knew we needed to have a real conversation. I waited for him to get home one evening, determined to make him understand how hurt and unsupported I felt. We sat in the living room, and I poured out my heart. I told him that his mother's constant interference was destroying our relationship. That this wedding was supposed to be about us, not a way for his mother to relive her past. But instead of listening, Jason got defensive. "You're overreacting," he snapped. "This is about family. The wedding isn't just for us, it's for them too." His words hit me like a slap. In that moment, it was painfully clear, his loyalty to his mother ran deeper than his commitment to me. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, but the frustration that had been building inside me for months finally boiled over. I looked him in the eyes and asked, "Jason, are you marrying me or your mother? Because right now, it feels like you're more committed to her than to us." His expression twisted with anger. He started shouting, accusing me of being selfish, of making a big deal out of nothing. And just like that, my heart broke all over again. I met his glare, my voice steady even as my chest ached. "I can't marry someone who won't stand up for me." For the first time, I said the words I had been too afraid to admit to myself. I was reconsidering our engagement. Jason brushed off my words as if I were just being dramatic, his dismissiveness cutting deeper than I expected. The way he acted, as if my pain and frustration didn't matter, hurt more than any argument we'd ever had. I turned to walk away, hoping to end the fight before it escalated further. But then, in an instant, everything changed. Jason grabbed my arm, yanked me around to face him, and before I could react, his hand struck my cheek. The impact stunned me. A sharp, burning pain spread across my face, but the physical sting was nothing compared to the shattering realization that the man I had planned to spend my life with had just hit me. Tears welled in my eyes as I stood there, frozen in disbelief. Jason didn't apologize, didn't even hesitate, he just stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Straight to his mother's side. I felt hollow, like something inside me had finally cracked beyond repair. The numbness crept in, dulling the ache in my cheek but doing nothing to mend the deeper wound he had left behind. That moment was my breaking point. I knew I couldn't stay. I needed to protect myself. With shaking hands, I called my sister, Sarah. She came over immediately, and the second she saw the red mark on my face, her expression darkened with rage and concern. Without hesitation, she pulled me into a tight hug. "You're coming with me," she said, her voice firm, leaving no room for argument. Together, we packed a bag. Every step felt surreal, as if I were watching someone else walk away from the life they had built. But I knew, this relationship was over, and I couldn't stay in that house a second longer. No matter how painful it was, leaving was my only choice. The next morning, with Sarah by my side, I went to the police station and filed for a restraining order against Jason. I showed them the photos of the mark on my cheek and the messages from Linda, proof of the toxicity I had endured for far too long. It was a heartbreaking step, but also an empowering one. Taking action against someone I had once loved felt unreal, but I knew it was the right thing to do. Then came another difficult task, canceling the wedding. I called the venue, bracing myself for a financial loss, but to my surprise, they were understanding. They even allowed me to transfer my deposit to another event. Instead of losing it, I decided to put it towards something new, an early birthday party, a celebration of my freedom and strength. Not everything worked out so smoothly. The caterer refused to refund my deposit, and I lost some money, but at that point, it didn't matter. All I cared about was that the wedding, the symbol of everything I had been fighting for, was officially behind me. And then, there was the ring. What was once a token of love and promise now felt like a heavy weight in my hands. Jason refused to take it back, claiming it was a gift. But I didn't want it. I couldn't bear to look at it, let alone keep it. So I sold it. And every cent went to a domestic violence shelter, because if that ring had to hold any meaning, I wanted it to be something good. It was a small way to take something painful and turn it into something meaningful, giving me the closure I desperately needed. But even with the restraining order in place, Linda wasn't finished. She took to social media, doing everything she could to smear my name. She painted me as a selfish, ungrateful bride who had heartlessly shattered her son's world. She even reached out to some of my family members, hoping to sway them to her side. But she underestimated them. My family and true friends saw right through her manipulations. They stood by me, unwavering in their support. Knowing I had people who believed in me and refused to buy into her lies was a comfort I held on to tightly. Jason, on the other hand, was a disaster. He bounced between desperate apologies and outright blaming me for everything. One evening, completely unannounced, he showed up at my new apartment, eyes red, voice shaking, begging me to take him back. Seeing him standing there, a man who had once felt like home but now felt like a stranger, sent a chill down my spine. I had to threaten to call the police before he finally left. That moment sealed it. I was never going back. To move forward, I leaned heavily on my support system. My parents, furious when they learned the full truth, helped me move the last of my belongings out of the apartment I had once shared with Jason. They even offered to cover any legal fees if I needed them, reminding me that no matter what, I wasn't alone. Most of my friends were incredible, standing by me without question. But a few? They didn't understand why I hadn't just worn the dress to keep the peace. Those friendships grew strained, but I realized it was for the best. If this experience had taught me anything, it was who my real friends were. As the weeks passed, I began rebuilding my life. The early birthday party I threw, at what should have been my wedding venue, became a beautiful celebration. I was surrounded by people who genuinely loved and supported me. That night was filled with laughter, dancing, and a sense of freedom I hadn't felt in years. It wasn't about the pain that had led me there. It was about the joy and healing that followed. Sarah and I also decided to make the most of what was supposed to be my honeymoon. We packed our bags and traveled to Paris, a city I had dreamed of visiting for as long as I could remember. Instead of a romantic getaway, it became an unforgettable sister adventure. And in the heart of that beautiful city, as we sipped coffee along the Seine and explored streets filled with history, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Peace. We wandered through the streets of Paris, savoring every moment, the rich aroma of fresh pastries, the golden glow of the city lights, and the laughter that had once felt so distant but now came so easily. Over long meals of decadent French food, Sarah and I shared deep conversations that reminded me of who I was before everything fell apart. It wasn't the romantic getaway I had once dreamed of, but in its own way, it was something even better, a trip filled with love, resilience, and the kind of healing I never knew I needed. When I returned home, I made a promise to myself: I was going to heal. I started therapy to unpack the emotional scars left by my relationship with Jason. Facing the red flags I had ignored and the compromises I had made wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Every session helped me rebuild my self-worth, understand my patterns, and learn the importance of setting boundaries. I vowed never to settle for anything less than respect, love, and true partnership. As time passed, Jason and Linda faded from my life. The restraining order and our mutual no-contact agreement brought me a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. Jason's desperate attempts to win me back eventually stopped, and Linda's smear campaign lost steam as people saw through her lies. One unexpected moment of closure came when Jason's father reached out. He apologized for everything and admitted that he understood my decision. It was a small gesture, but it meant more than I expected. It was an acknowledgement that I hadn't been crazy, that what I had endured was real. Through it all, my family and true friends remained my foundation. My parents, heartbroken by what I had gone through, supported me unconditionally. Most of my friends stood by my side, showing me love in ways I will never forget. And those who didn't understand? They drifted away. But I realized that was part of my healing, too, learning to let go of people who didn't uplift me. Selling the engagement ring and donating the money to a domestic violence shelter was one of the most empowering decisions I made. It turned a painful reminder into something meaningful, something that could help others who had been in my shoes. People often ask if I have regrets. The truth is, I don't. As painful as this experience was, it taught me invaluable lessons about self-respect, trust, and the kind of love I truly deserve. I'm not ready to date again just yet, but when I am, I'll approach relationships with clarity and confidence. I won't ignore red flags. I won't compromise my well-being for someone else's comfort. For now, I'm focused on me. I'm rediscovering passions I once put on hold, spending quality time with the people who matter most, and embracing the version of myself that isn't defined by a relationship. I am stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. And for the first time in a long time, I feel genuinely hopeful about the future. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. Your support truly means the world. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What moved you? What stood out? Together, we can share stories that empower and inspire. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories. Share this video with your loved ones. It might brighten their day or give them a new perspective. And before you go, check out the video on your screen. It's another heartfelt story you won't want to miss.